Alright, let's look at some different operations with rational functions. In this first example, you can see that we've got two rational expressions that are being added together. And when we do operations with rational expressions, we're going to use the same rules that we learned when we do operations with fractions. So when we add fractions, we know that we need to have a common denominator. So in this first example here, I need to get a common denominator. I'm going to do that by multiplying the fraction on the left by x minus 3 over x minus 3, which is the denominator of the other fraction. And then I'm going to multiply the expression on the right times x plus 5 over x plus 5, again, which is the denominator of the other fraction. So my common denominator will be x minus 3 times x plus 5. Now in the numerator, let's start here on the left, and I'm going to add in some parentheses here to make sure we do all our distributions correctly. I have x minus 3 times 7 minus 3x. So I'm going to start with the x times 7, and we get 7x. X times negative 3x would be negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times 7, negative 21. And negative 3 times negative 3x is plus 9x. Then over here on the right, I have 8 times x plus 5. So 8 times x is 8x, and 8 times 5 is 40. Alright, so now I have a common denominator. I've multiplied everything out in the numerators, and the last step here is just to combine like terms. My denominator is still going to be x minus 3 times x plus 5. In the numerator, though, I have negative 3x squared, and then I have 7x plus 9x, which would be 16x, plus 8x would be 24, so plus 24x. And then I have minus 21, or negative 21, and plus 40. So that would be plus 19. And that would be our final answer. Let's look at another problem like this one. If you'd like to, pause the video and take a moment to try this question on your own. Again, to start this question, we need to get a common denominator. And so I'm going to multiply each of these fractions times the denominator of the other fraction. So here on the left, we're going to multiply times x plus 3 over x plus 3. And on the right, we're going to multiply that fraction times x minus 1 over x minus 1. Alright, so our common denominator is x plus 3 times x minus 1. And in the numerator, we're going to multiply this out. X times 5x, 5x squared. X times 2 is plus 2x. And now I'm on to the 3. 3 times 5x would be 15x. And 3 times 2 is 6. Moving over to the fraction on the right, 4 times x would be 4x, and 4 times minus 1, or negative 1, would be minus 4. So we have everything multiplied out. Let's combine like terms in our numerator. The denominator stays the same. In the numerator, I have 5x squared. And then for my x terms, I have 2x plus 15x, which would be 17. Plus 4x would be 21, so plus 21x. And then I have a positive 6 and a minus 4. So that would give me plus 2. And that is our final answer. Now let's look at a division example. Remember that we're following the same rules that we learned with fractions when we were in elementary school. And when we learned to divide fractions, we learned that you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to start out by rewriting this question as x plus 3 over x minus 4. Change it to times, and then I'm going to take the reciprocal of my second fraction. X squared minus 16 over x squared plus x minus 6. Now before we multiply this out, it's always a good idea to factor and see if we can simplify. So x plus 3 minus x over x minus 4. I can't factor those. But x squared minus 16, that is the difference of two squares. And so that factors x plus 4, x minus 4. And then in my denominator, x squared I can get by multiplying x times x. And 6, I'm going to multiply 3 times 2. I want positive 1x in the middle, so I'm going to make that 3 positive, and I'm going to make the 2 negative. Now when we look at this, you can see that we've got an x minus 4 here in the denominator and an x minus 4 in the numerator. Those can cancel out. And also we have an x plus 3 in the numerator and an x plus 3 in the denominator. And those cancel out. And so my final answer is whatever's left, which in this case is x plus 4 over x minus 2. Again, if you'd like to pause the video, this would be a great time to try one on your own. Now we are dividing by fractions again here, and so I'm going to keep the first fraction the same. I'm going to change this to multiplication, and then I'm going to take the reciprocal of the second fraction. And now before we multiply out, we're going to factor x minus 2 over x plus 2. Those do not factor. But my numerator, x squared plus 5x plus 6, let's factor that. We're going to have x and x. Numbers that multiply to give me 6 would be 3 and 2. And this time they're going to both be positive. And then I have an x plus 3 in the denominator. So now let's look for common factors in numerators and denominators that we can cancel out. I see that I have an x plus 3 in the numerator and in the denominator, so I'm going to cancel those out. I also have an x plus 2 in the numerator and the denominator, and those cancel out. And so my final answer is x minus 2 over 1. Whenever everything cancels out, when you're multiplying and dividing, then it's 1. Or it's okay if you want to just write x minus 2.